Muberis. Very auspicious time, really. We should have the greatest zechuyos of any year because 6 months of learning is a lot more than 5 months of learning. And for those of us who have been learning for the full Zman, it's a very good feeling also. Yeah. A lot of the Zmanim that we have are a little bit short. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. A 6 month Zman is an extremely rare opportunity to grow in a very long and hopefully enjoyable way. So I want to thank Hashem. I would have done it with Rabbim, but I don't know if we have a Rabbim here, but maybe with all of our televised audience, so to speak, we have a Rabbim. To thank Hashem for a successful winter Zman, Baruch Hashem. Next week will be the last week of the Zman, before what we call Bein Hazmanim, the period between semesters, when there's a vacation, so to speak. Although it's been pointed out that there's a Gemara in Shabbos that compares the Jewish nation to a Yonah. It's an interesting sugi in Shabbos where it talks about a gezerah where they couldn't wear tefillin at a certain time. And there was a fellow who was moiser nefesh to wear tefillin at the times of the Romans when they said it was usher. And the Romans caught sight of this guy wearing his tefillin. In those days, they wore tefillin publicly, and he wore his publicly, and he's running away from the Roman soldier. Imagine, as if I would say, instead of Roman soldier, the Gestapo soldier, or whatever, the Nazi soldier, pretty much the same thing, if not worse. Imagine a nation that was capable of killing a Rabbi Akiva. Imagine tearing his flesh off. I think they were probably worse than right? They made public games out of animals tearing up people, gladiators and stuff. They're probably worse than the Roman. Okay, but they're all the same clan pretty much. So he was being chased by this Nazi/Roman soldier who was going to catch up with him and show him you don't break Roman law. And as the fellow was running, his name was Elisha. As he was running, the Gemara says he was taking off his tefillin because he wasn't that stupid to get caught wearing it, so he tried as much as he can as he was running away to take it off. When the Roman soldier finally caught up with him, he was like holding it like this. So the Roman said, "Okay, show me what's in your hand." He probably said it in Roman, Italian. And the Jew went like this, and he was holding the wings of a Yonah bird. They had changed miraculously into the wings of a Yonah bird. I hope it doesn't mean that Hashem erased his own name, because that we're not allowed to do, but of course Hashem does it for Shalom. So, and the Gemara says, why pick a Yonah? Why Kanfa Yonah? Why did the Tefillin turn into Kanfa Yonah? It says because Klal Yisrael is compared to a Yonah. One of the reasons the Gemara says is because we're very faithful. Just like a Yonah is always faithful to its mate, one of the few birds that remains faithful forever and ever to its mate, so to Klal Yisrael is very faithful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu no matter what. But Tosfos brings another midrash that says that one of the other comparisons of Klal Yisrael to a Yonah, which, by the way, I want to thank Yoni for coming in, even when we have the two Bali Simcha here who had babies, grandchildren yesterday. We're just trying to figure out if it was the same time. What time of day was it yesterday?
It was for me 10:30 in the morning.
10:30 in the morning. His I know was earlier.
Quarter to nine.
Quarter to nine. Pretty close. Thank you, Hashem, for that interesting blend. You had a boy who had a boy, and you had a girl who had a girl. Kanai Nahara. All right, everyone should have. Everyone should be healthy.
Amen.
So, and everyone should have nachas. Hashem for their children. So the point being that the Gemara, the Tosfos brings another mashal to a Yonah. Yoni reminded me of Yonah. That Tosfos says when they get tired and they're flying long distances and they get tired, then they continue to fly, but with one wing. I don't know how a bird flies with one wing. I guess they fly a bit with this, and then rest this one, a bit with that. right? It's like, I guess for us it wouldn't work if you hopped on one foot for a while and gave the other foot a rest. I know when I'm standing for long periods, I do that sometimes in a long Shmona Esrei, to put a little bit more weight on one leg, then later a little bit more leg on the other, let the blood come in a little bit into the other foot. So this, I heard a long time ago, is a nice mashal for those who learn Torah, for probably any Jewish activity that we engage in, that even though we don't always have the energy to go a long distance, right? But even when you take a break, don't take a complete break. We learn from the Yonah, try to, right, fly with one wing, so to speak. Try to learn half a Seder if you learn normally a Seder. Try to learn one Seder if you learn normally 2 Sedarim. Keep one wing going. Keep flying. Don't let the gravity pull you down, which is very common in an off season, so to speak, when we're not in session. So that's something that I want to wish everyone to hopefully prepare for at this time, because having 6 months of learning is also a good way to spend Bein Hazmanim reviewing. Because if you have 6 months of Mishnah Brura that you learn, and 6 months of whatever halachas or Gemoras or Chumash or whatever you were learning, that's a lot. I used to say every time we learn something, it's like putting a bill in the drawer. You get a bill from the electric company, put it in the drawer. You get a bill from the gas company, put it in the drawer. There's only so long you can do that. Eventually you have to take the bills out and pay them. Just because they're out of sight, out of mind, doesn't mean that you can ignore it. Eventually, if you ignore it for too long, they shut off your electricity, chas shalom, shut off your gas. If anyone ever had the pleasure of knowing these things, right? So, having learned something and not reviewing it is like having a bill, an unpaid bill. Don't ignore it, right? You can't ignore it. You have to take it out. You have to. So it's beautiful. Everything we learn is beautiful. It's like an amazing gift from Hashem, but it's also an obligation. Now go and review it. It says that every time that Moshe Rabbeinu taught Klal Yisrael, he taught them 4 times. And every time after him, then Aaron taught the people. And so everyone ended up learning the Gemara for any halacha that they learned 4 times. And I heard that the Stipler said that's a remez, and every page of Gemara you always have 4 lines of Rashi or Tosos at the top of the page before the Gemara, to show you that you should review every Gemara at least 4 times. That's the minimum. Then, of course, there's a Gemara that says, if you really want to remember something, you can say it 40 times. Because they had a Gemara that somebody was told the halacha, and he wanted to remember. It says he turned to the wall, he repeated it 40 times in order to remember it. And my Rebbe said he was once sitting with Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, who was a tremendous Gadol and tremendous mind. There's no question he was a genius. And someone came in and said something to him that he hadn't known before. He got up, turned to the wall, and said it 40 times. Right? So it wasn't beneath his dignity. It shouldn't be beneath our dignity. And even if we're not going to go and do something that public, but the idea. And then, of course, there's the famous Gemara in Chagiga that a person, there's a huge difference between someone who learned a Gemara 100 times, someone who learned it 101 times. That one is an Eved Hashem and one is not quite an Eved Hashem. That's a whole different story. But I'm saying, at least we should do the 4 times. If we can, the 40 times. And if we're really up to it, 101 times. They say that certain Gedolim learn things even more. They say someone came in once to ask Rav Moshe Feinstein a shayla, Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. Of course, he knew the answer, but after the fellow left, Rav Moshe said to his assistant, he said, this guy was trying to catch me on a halacha. And you can probably tell when people were trying to just catch him, and see if you can catch the Gadol Ador. Some people play games like that, unfortunately. Right? He says, now that's bad enough. He says, but I've learned that Pri Megadim was based on a Pri Megadim, which is not even like a regular Shulchan Aruch. It's a commentary in the back, which is very important, but right, and most of us don't have time to sit and learn it. If anything, we hear it in the Mishnah Brura, does bring it from time to time. But to actually go back and learn a Pri Megadim, of course, poskim have to do that. He said, I learned that Pri Megadim 400 times. That particular one that refers to what this fellow's asking, I learned 400 times. Rav Moshe Feinstein, who's one of the greatest geniuses in the 20th century, who is a fellow who was in a sukkah, and someone asked him a question. They were talking about something, and someone said it's a Tosfos on a certain page, And he said, no, it's on a different page. And of course, someone had the chutzpah to argue with the Gadol Hador about if Tosfos is on one page or the other. Rav Moshe left the sukkah. Can you imagine the feeling of this guy? He argued with the Gadol Hador who left the sukkah because of that. He probably wanted to crawl under the table and die. Probably did crawl under the table and die. I hope he listened to Tshuva. And a few minutes later, Rav Moshe comes back. He says, yes, it's on Daf Chaf, whatever. They asked, Rosh Yeshiva had to go all the way home to double check the Gemara to make sure that he remembered which daf it was on. It's not even such a great, the actual Torah is important, not exactly what page it's on. But no, we like to know what page it's on. But why would he have to go all the way? Because not only it's Bittul Torah, okay, maybe it wasn't Bittul Torah for him because he could learn Torah the whole time in his head. But he was missing out on the mitzvah of Sukkah the whole time, right? And just to prove it to this guy, this nobody who could argue with the Gadol Hador, it's not even worth your time. So what did Rav Moshe answer? As per his godless and Torah in Yerushalayim, he said, I've never forgotten my learning ever in my life. If I'm starting to forget, then I'll have to stop paskening because I'm not allowed to pasken if I'm starting to forget. So in order to make sure that I haven't forgotten, I had to go home and check. That's probably the most amazing story, I think, that was ever told on a Gadol. And there are many stories like that about Rav Moshe. Can you imagine the achrayus that was in him, that he felt if he started to forget even a small amount, he can't paskin anymore. And to be able to say, I've never forgotten one word of Torah his whole life. Of course, it's the same Rav Moshe who also said that when someone accused him of not having das Torah, he said, that I can't be moichel. He says, a lot of things I can be moichel. You don't agree with my opinion, I can be moichel. But to say I don't have das Torah, I can't be moichel. Why? He says, I've never seen anything in my life that wasn't das Torah. He never looked at anything that wasn't Torah his whole life. That's what he said on himself. Again, of course, these are all apocryphal things. I don't know if I wasn't there, I didn't hear it. These are legends that they say about the Gadol. But he lived, I saw him. I actually saw Rav Moshe Feinstein. We lived at the same time as this Gadol. You could talk to people who actually had close contact with him. So, and the same one who said he never forgot anything, still had to go and check, right? And still learned the Pri Megadim 400 times. And then some guy tried to catch him up, but he said, I've learned it 400 times. Why would he have to learn it 400 times? Such an incredible mind that he had. Because that's what that's what he felt. I have to learn this over and again to make sure I understand it properly, and then make sure I remember it properly, make sure I'll be able to use it like at the tip of my fingers when I need to paskin. Unbelievable, 400 times, right? Anyhow, so I think we can manage to do a little bit of chazorah during Bein Hazmanim. Bezrat Hashem. Of course, I'm speaking to myself. I also have to do chazorah, but the one mile of teaching Torah is that you do have to learn it many times beforehand to be able to teach it properly, and then you say it again in class, and then you say it again, usually. So there are a lot of miles. That's why if you can arrange to teach someone in your own neighborhood a little bit of what you're learning, it'll also increase your memory of it tenfold or 20-fold. Okay, that was just the end of this Zman pep talk that I hope, since next week, hopefully Rav Schatz will be speaking. This is my last opportunity to speak to the whole group, although I'll probably do a little pep talk still next week somehow. But this is my congratulations on whoever was here the whole Zman, and also, even if you weren't here every day, but you committed yourself to coming, and whoever could come, did come, and whoever's not here today, I'm sure there was a good reason they couldn't come. But the main thing is to pat yourself on the back. It was a good Zman, hopefully, and to carry all that you learned with you by chazering it, by valuing it, by hopefully teaching it, to be able to remember it. Now, what I wanted to talk about, however, was that at this time of year, besides reviewing, which there's the Yetzer Hara not to review, so that's also a bit of a drudgery, often we like new things, but to review the old is a Yetzer Hara. There's a lot of other things we're doing at this time of year also, which tend to be very much kind of like a drudgery, cleaning for Pesach, and doing so on and so forth, having to order all the new things and think about everything and make sure it's all fits together into a nice Pesach celebration. Some people enjoy that kind of stuff, some people find it difficult. So we should at least realize that this time of year should be the most joyous time of the year. Not just because a lot of people get together with their family, which is certainly a good reason, and not just because there's nice food, which is certainly a good reason, and not just because there's a lot of mitzvahs, but that's also a good reason, even a better reason to be happy. There's a lot of mitzvahs that we're about to be Makayim. Sipur Yisias Mitzrayim, Achilas Matzah, Achilas Moror, Achilas Sudos Yom Tov, and Simchas Yom Tov, and we could rack up a lot of mitzvahs, Baruch Hashem. But there's something above and beyond that. As I wrote in this week's newsletter, that we're also coming to a time, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which is described in Parashat Shmini, actually, that is what it says, Bayom HaShmini was Rosh Chodesh Nisan. I think people understand that. That there were 7 days of Miluim, of getting ready the tabernacle, the Mishkan, for 7 days. And then the final 8th day was put up in a more permanent way, and the Shekhinah came down, etc. That was Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Almost a year after they came out of Mitzrayim. So the first Nisan, the Klal Yisrael sort of as a nation was coming out of Mitzrayim, heading towards Har Sinai. And the second Nisan of their history as a nation, so to speak, they were already building a Mishkan, and the Shekhinah came down. And it says 10 crowns were on that day. I'm not going to list all the 10 here, but one of them was the fact that the Shekhinah came down. It was a tremendous point of the history of the world. It says Hashem so much desired to have his Shekhinah dwell b'tachtonim. We don't even realize, to us, it would be like saying, I have a tremendous desire to live in the sewer. Because as far as the Shekhinah is concerned, this is like the sewer. This is like the lowest of all the worlds. Spiritually speaking, there's 4 major spiritual worlds, and each one is divided up into numerous parts as well. And Hashem is completely dwelling above everything. For him to dwell down in our lowest of worlds is like saying, I want to go live in the sewer for a while. Right? We should first of all appreciate that Hashem bothers to come down here and visit us. Right? It's like going to visit someone in jail. Right? Don't really want to go, but it means a lot to him. Probably a lot of people feel that when they visit us here in Israel, right? Leaving America to go. Hopefully they feel the other way. They feel uplifted when they come to Israel, but not everyone feels that way. A lot of people feel, I remember my aunt complaining, so much garbage everywhere, right? Not clean as in America, and so forth. And a lot of other complaints we hear from time to time. But we have to appreciate for these people, it is a hakrava, it is a sacrifice of sorts. We have to appreciate that. Well, Allah has come of a come. We have to appreciate the Kadosh Baruch who comes down here to visit us, his little creatures. Imagine you're way up in a tree, and there's little ants down. They're crawling down there. Let's say you even have binoculars, you can see the little ants crawling down. You say, I'm going to go down from the top of the tree all the way down to the bottom and sit down on the ground and talk to the ants. Has anyone ever done that? I mean, I have an aunt that I loved very much. I used to like to talk to my aunt, but not like that, right? But Hashem does that. Hashem does that. Because as different as we are from the ant, Hashem is 1,000,000 times more different than us. If we say, it's a different creature, I can't relate to a different creature, that is how Hashem is to us. We're a different creature than the Kadosh Baruch Hu. We have a lot of limitations. We eat, we drink, we sleep. Hashem doesn't do any of those things. But we have a neshama that's a chelik of Hashem. So there's something about us that does resemble Hashem, Baruch Hashem. But just to realize the incredible act that Hashem does is coming down here and spending time with us. That is amazing. So he waited for it. Not only he does it like Bidi Evid, he waited for it. The entire history of the world, he so much desires. He has a tremendous cheshek to dwell amongst us down here. That's why the greatest day in the history of the world, really, was the building of the Mishkan, where Hashem could bring his Shekhinah down and dwell down here with us. So we just have to realize that incredible thing that happened on that Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which is actually what it says in this week's Parsha, Vayibam Shmini. Now there's 2 things it says over here, by the way, and according to the Sforno, they're not exactly speaking about the same thing. He tells them to bring a few karbanos, and he says, Ki hayom Hashem nira aleichem, which grammatically I think even is a bit ambiguous. you could translate this as because today Hashem is appearing to you, meaning he's about to appear to you. That's the way I always learn. But I saw an incredible word, which I wrote about in the newsletter as well, at the end of my piece, that the Sforno says, if you want to look up the Sforno on this, that he says it's not referring to the what's about to appear, he's referring to the end of Shemos, because that was the same day. What does it say at the end of Shemos? The last pasuk in Shemos says what? Vayichas ha'anan es ha'ol moed. The special cloud of Hashem covered the old moed. Ukavod Hashem molei es ha'mishkan. That's talking about the same day, by the way. The last few psukim of Shemos, which like the end of the building of the Mishkan, says this thing about Hashem coming into the Mishkan. That is Rosh Chodesh Nisan, right? So we have to realize this is exact. That's what we say. Ein muktan muchar b'Torah. This story of Shmini is being told here, but it really could have been told over here at the end of Shemos, the same day. So over there, it already said that Hashem had appeared in the Mishkan. V'kavod Hashem moleis haMishkan. The kavod Hashem filled up the Mishkan. So the Sforno says that was already the Shekhinah coming down. However, it was like a local thing, like a private affair. It was within the Mishkan. And okay, you look at the psukim over there. Now then he says, that's what it's referring to here. Ki hayom Hashem nira lechem, which can also be translated because Hashem has appeared to you today. So he was telling them, look, Hashem has already appeared to you today. So let's offer up a few karbanos for that already. According to Sforno, that's the first few psukim, up till pasuk Daled. That's not for the future, to get Hashem to appear again. That's to thank Hashem for appearing at all, which has already happened in the earlier part of the day. But they want more Shekhinah. They want more Gilui Shekhinah. So that's the next few psukim, from Hey onwards. Then they have to take more things, right? And then it says afterwards, in pasuk Vav, Zeh hadavar asher tziva Hashem ta'asu. So according to this form, it's a new thing now, not referring to the first few karbanos, which is to thank Hashem on the Shekhinah appearing already in the Mishkan before that day, in that day. But now he says, and there's another thing now that we can do, that we should do, V'yera, in the future tense, and it will appear Aleichem Kavod Hashem. Now we're going to have a new Gilui of Shekhinah if we do the next few things. So the next karbanos were to bring down the new Madrega of Shekhinah, another huge Madrega, which is a public Gilui Shekhinah. The first one was more of a private affair, Molei Kavod Hashem es HaMishkan. And I'm just repeating the Sforno bit. So just look up the Sforno there. Anyone who's interested, I happen to have it home. In the English Sforno, it's very helpful. There's one, right, Pelkovitz, very helpful. And that way he's learning that these two things are not just a repetition. It's not saying twice, let's bring karbanos to bring Hashem down. He's saying first, let's bring karbanos to thank Hashem, first of all, for the Shekhinah he already brought. And let's do more karbanos to bring a greater madrega of Gilui Shekhinah. Because both are true. And that's what I was saying. We have to first of all appreciate the Gilui Shekhinah we've already experienced. First of all, in the history of the Jewish nations, there have been many occasions of Gilui Shekhinah. Start to thank Hashem for that. Like I said, that's a tremendous thing. That Hashem should come all the way down here to dwell amongst us in the sewer called the United States of America, or right, whatever other continent we're living on. It's basically, as far as the spiritual worlds that are above us, it's a sewer system, okay? But we make the best that we can, right? We have a little food down here. We do as best as we can, right? But it basically, as far as spirituality is concerned, a very lowly dwelling. But Hashem says, I've been looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to visiting my relatives, because they have a little bit of, each one has a bit of a chelik of Hashem. They're my relatives. We're related. They're my children, right? B'ni B'chori, we're even his firstborn, according to the psukim about Yetzias Mitzrayim. So he wants to come down here. We should appreciate the incredible thing. Just like I remember when my grandfather came to my sister's chasana here. It was a tremendous effort for him. He was very old, and he vowed he would never do it again because it was just too much out of him. Some people like the experience, they vowed to come again. Some people, it's just too much for them. All the plane and the jet lag and the this and then the different culture. But he came. I remember that it was obviously a tremendous thing to appreciate when someone makes an effort to come to visit you. Well, Hashem has come to visit us numerous times. And not only that, we know that every day, right? It says that between a man and a wife there's Shechina. If there's Shalom, there's Shechina. And that's why it's so important to have Shalom. That there's naturally Shechina between a man and his wife. The Yud of the man and the Hey of the woman is called the Shechina B'neihem. But every time we sit and learn, even one person sitting and learning, it says Hashem still comes over there and listens. Okay? Just when one person sitting and learning. But Kol Shekain, 2 people sitting and learning. Kol Shekain 5, you look at the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, it goes down Madregas. There's tremendous things. And when you come to Shul and there's 10 Jews there, the Shechina comes there, it's a tremendous thing. The Baal Tanya says, if you just have 10 Jews sitting in a room doing nothing, the Shechina is coming down there. As long as they're not doing an Avera to push them away. So first of all, thank you Hashem, that you come and you visit me. Numerous times in the history of Klal Yisrael, in a bigger way, and numerous times in my own life. When I'm with my wife, or when I'm with my friends learning, or if I'm in shul. All those are things. And when you daven, you're supposed to imagine Hashem is in front of you. It's the Shekhinah that's in front of you. That's why you're not supposed to walk in front of someone who's davening. How are you walking through the Shekhinah? What are you pushing aside, trying to push away the Shekhinah? The Gemara talks very sternly about people who even look like they're pushing away the legs of the Shekhinah. Right? But he's there. He's standing and davening. Shemona Esrei. Shekhinah's there. There's a little bit of this that they were davening for happened. Right? And this that we have to thank Hashem, we see again also later. It says over there when Hashem finally did appear to them. Here it is. The beginning of Shlishi. V'teitzei eish v'lifnei Hashem v'tochal al hamizbeach. Finally, after the second set of karbonos, Hashem kavod did come down, and the fire even with it, and ate up the karbonos. Vayar kol ha'am, and the nation saw. They're seeing Gilui Shechina. What was their reaction? Vayaronu. Yaronu. What is Yaronu? They sang. Like we say at Shavuot, Gila Rina. Right? Maybe they'll call her Rina. Right? Rina. Beautiful song that they sang to Hashem right on the spot. That's what the Unkelos says something that's more simple, but it's, I think, the same idea. He says, V'chazakol am, the whole nation saw, V'shabachu, and they praised Hashem for having experienced an incredible Gilui Shechina over here. Vayiplu apaneim, and of course that's what they then prostrated themselves, like we do often in davening as well. So the point is, that's a natural reaction to Gilui Shechina, to thank Hashem. And in everything it's like that. If you don't appreciate what Hashem has already given you, why should He give you any more? That's why every time you leave a Beis HaMikdash, you're supposed to thank Hashem for whatever you've learned. Right? And every Shemona Esrei we say Modim at the end. Every time we're thanking Hashem to show that we deserve more. Obviously, we're not making a bargain. I'm going to thank you if you give me more, but that's part of the idea that should motivate us to thank Hashem more often, is because you get the next level. If Hashem says, oh look, He's thanking me for this. Just like when we have children that are appreciative, we want to give them more, and a child who doesn't care and acts ungrateful, we don't really feel like giving them a lot more. So Hashem is the same way with us, Lahavdil. So that's a big component which I think is important to remember at this time, which is really what we're doing at Pesach Seder as well. And I'm just saying, I spoke about it in the newsletter, that this is a time of the year that's mesugal for the Gilui Shechina. The Mishkan was already ready at Hanukkah time. That's one of the reasons why Hashem later gave Kaf Hey Kislev its due, to have a Chag on that day, because it was really a day that was supposed to get the Mishkan, but Hashem pushed it off till Nisan. Why did He push it off till Nisan? Because that was when Yitzchak was born, and that's more matim to Avoda, which is what the Mishkan's all about. But basically, it became another month, another thing in the month of Nisan of Gilui Shechina. And when Hashem took us out, it says Ani v'lo Malach, Ani v'lo Saraf, and in the middle of the Haggadah it says Zed Gilui Shechina. That's what happened over there. They had Gilui Shechina. According to the Sforno also, that's why the Bechoros were Miskadish. Why is every Bechor Kodesh? Because Hashem's Gilui Shechina. All the Misrim who were tummy died from that Gilui Shechina, and all the Jews who became Kadosh, especially the Bechoros, the Shmitz, became much more kaddish because of Gilui Shechina. That happened on the night of Pesach, and that could also happen to us, Meretz Hashem. So Nisan is very mesugel for Gilui Shechina. So if we make the effort to try to bring the Shechina, and it says in the Gemara in Shabbos that Ein ha-Shechina shoyri, ela mitoch, what does it say over here? Sorry, we'll end with this. Ein ha-Shechina shoyri, the middle of, anyone wants to look it up, Lamed Amid Beis, 30b, in the middle of the page, at the end of the line. She'ein ha-Shechina shoyre lo mitoch atzvus. The Shechina will never be shoyre of when we're sad. Lo mitoch atzvus, and neither if we're lazy. Doesn't want to come down there because that's really too much of a sewer. Guy's lazy and sad. Lo mitoch schok, and also not the other way, not just frivolity. Lo mitoch kalus rosh, and not just making silly jokes. V'lo mitoch sicha, and not just idle talk. V'lo mitoch devarim b'telim, and not also a different type of idle talk. Ela mitoch, this is what I want to stress, davar simcha shal mitzvah. Person involved in simcha shal mitzvah, it brings Gilui Shechina. At least that makes you roy for Gilui Shechina. And that's really what we're doing at this time. We're cleaning, we're doing this, we're doing all that's kind of asik called simcha shal mitzvah. If we're happy, if we make ourselves happy, and the biggest simcha should be because we could be bringing the third Beis HaMikdash with the true Gilui Shechina. Who knows? But even if it's not that level, even if we're just zoicha to the smaller levels of Gilui Shechina, then that would be worth it, right? So we want to be zoicha, simcha shal mitzvah. Devar simcha shal mitzvah, not mitoch atzlus or atzvus and those kind of things, right? So this is a good time to stress those things with this parsha and the end of Adar, beginning of Nisan. This is something we want to stress, to thank Hashem enough for all the Gilui Shechina we have experienced till now, and to daven for more, and to try to bring it by being a kli for bringing the true Shechina and hopefully the third Beis HaMikdash, being Rav Faerman. Amen.
Amen.